Well, so we have to look at the newspapers. Kujo is feeling a bit under the weather this morning, so will not be joining us. But we wish you speedy recovery, Kujo. But we have to look at some, which papers you have?
I will look through the Daily Graphic, the Ghanaian Times, but we're running through the headlines first, so we're going to do all the papers that we have. Let's start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page, Menzgold customers issue threats as investors lock up. Ghana Health Service to entice doctors to 3 northern regions. ATL struggles to keep workers' pay salaries. These are the headlines on the front page. Back page of the graphic now, 20,000 Ghanaians to be trained in entrepreneurship skills. GNFS, that's the Ghana National Fire Service, records rise in fire outbreaks this year. Okay, so there's been an increase. Let's move on to the Ghanaian Times now. Front page, big boost for young entrepreneurs. 2,000 to benefit from 30 million Ghana cedis government training program. Government traditional rulers must partner for development. Dialogue, not strike action. Health Minister to health workers. Back page, Ho Central Prison takes delivery of industrial machines. BA's vegetation cover diminishing indiscriminate bushfires cited as cause. So these are the front page headlines in the Ghanaian Times and the Daily Graphic newspaper, and on the back page as well. Let's do other headlines in the other papers.
Well, so let's look at the Daily Dispatch newspaper. It has on the front page, flashback, what Akufo-Addo said about fuel price increases in October 2016. And I keep saying the internet doesn't lie these days, so it actually never lies. So, you all like the fame.
It does lie sometimes. There's fake news, Roland.
Yeah, sure. And you love the fame and the grandeur that it gives you, all that. When you keep posting, please make sure that you're not referred to some other time when you have a double standard situation. Mahama's government insensitive to fuel hikes, and you have see top of page for charts. Okay, so we have all that. The story is on page 2, so you go there, you see it as well. We have 80% of women in Ghana not using any family planning method. I paid money to Springfield based on legal advice, ex-boss MD. All right, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Guide, we have, with common goals, we have common goals. Nana tells chiefs. In the meantime, though, the Daily Guide is also saying Menzgold extends shutdown. And prosecuting corrupt officers, 6 cases sent to Martin Amidu over massive fraudulent deals. But we have other stories there. 6 arrested for burning Adan Chief's corpse, and 2 grabbed over weed in Speaker. Shouldn't be arresting people over. Ghana Airport is no joke. Nigerian musician Eben, he headlined the Adum Praise 2018. When he was leaving, he decided to film the new terminal and make jokes with it.
Yeah,
it's all there. Center spread.
Back page though. Bash his own people for.
Back page. Lucy Quist relishes football post. Asamoah earns a Cardi praise. Babola doubles tennis rocks Tema, and Goldfields Ghana Open tees off tomorrow. Tees off means it's golf, definitely. Ministry denies starlet slave wage reports. So I have a couple of stories.
Okay, I'll do the last 2, the Today newspaper and the Business Finder. Let's do the Today first. Guzi rejects Mahama's offer. 6.8 million Ghanaians are poor. And this is a conversation that we're expanding this morning on the show. Pilgrims, Lord Nana Baumia over Hajj success, all set for celebration of 2018 Igbo Day. Tension in Krowo Assembly. That's the Today newspaper in terms of the headlines right there on the front page. Let's do the Business Finder. 2,000 entrepreneurs get 30 million Ghana cedis Spanish support to beef up capacity. Government unveils incentives for ID or 1D1F, 1 districts, 1 factory initiative. Set up new investment bank for industries. That's the Business Finder newspaper.
Well, so we have the Independent. Says Akufo-Addo's pal sprays cash on MPP chair and courts disaffection for ruling party. UEW gets fourth vice chancellor. We have supported MPP to develop Ghana. Apanyo Markin tells the Futu residents, and SEC boss accused of conflict of interest. Teacher jailed 3 years for defiling 9-year-old girl. On the back page though, Firmino helps Liverpool win 5-goal thriller with PSG. Let's look at the Statesman newspaper. The Statesman newspaper has on the front page, let's work for the benefit of our people, President Akufo-Addo urging chiefs. And then we have how NDC stole over 800 million Ghana cedis, and the forensic audit on 6 agencies revealed. You have pictures there of Josipa Yankee, former CEO of Ghana Gas, Kingsley Kwame Wada, former boss CEO, Sedina Tamaklu Ationu, former Maslok CEO, and Kwejo Chumboafo, former Chief Executive Officer at the Free Zones Board. Government rolled out fresh job program. Over 2,000 young entrepreneurs to benefit, we're told. Okay.
All right, now let's get into some of the details. And I missed Kojo already. It's because of the center spread story in the Daily Graphic newspaper. You guys were looking for a name, or was it all three? We're looking for a name for Sahel and Omni Bank.
Omni.
Yeah, they formed, and that's it. That's the. How do you I don't know.
Omni,
can you? I guess we'll just
BCIC Bank. Omni BCIC. Omni Sahel Bank. Now Omni.
I think we would just
BCIC
simply say
Bank.
Omni.
Yeah, I think it's still
Okay.
Omni is still there.
So you know,
Congratulations
we
to the
tried to
team.
play around with it, but what we thought couldn't be is what it is. Center spread. Omni and Sahel Sahara banks have set in motion merger activities aimed at consolidating their operations into a bigger bank to be known as Omni BSIC Bank Ghana Limited before the end of 2018. But the story, what I really wanted us to look at is the story on page 3, which is the banner headline, today's Daily Graphic. Menzgold customers issue threats as investments lock up. It says some aggrieved customers of Menzgold Ghana Limited have threatened to take legal action against the company to recover their investments if it fails to resume operations after its September 28 deadline. The investment of the aggrieved customers have been locked up following the suspension of the company's Gold Vault market services. The threats by some of the customers follow the decision by the company to extend the suspension of its Gold Vault market services for the second time in the wake of the controversy between it and the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC. Although the management of Menzgold was initially defiant in complying with SEC's order to shut down operations because the company was not licensed to do so, it announced last Wednesday, September 12, that it had placed a temporary halt on its operations. May I add that it was bold enough to say it was going to be until 19th of September. But here we are. Who's the bigger boss now? But, you know, there are people, they said they sent text messages announcing the extension and tried to communicate with customers, but apparently not all of them got the message. So yesterday, quite a number of them besieged their premises, the various points, and they got talking. So we'll see how far this would go. We'll see how long it would take and whether or not they can meet the 28th deadline that they've given themselves again. So that's the Menzgold customers, because with the regulators, we're not sure exactly what's going on right now. Let's see what other story we can do. Roland, we can talk about the ATL story on page 20 in the Daily Graphic newspaper. So here we go. It says the fate of some 800 workers of Akosombo Textiles Limited hangs in the balance because the company is struggling to keep all of them in employment due to daunting challenges in the textile industry. Currently, the workers are at home because the company has adopted a production strategy to only recall them to work at specific times as a measure to cut costs to save it from total collapse. And you can read on this story, Secretary of the ATL Local Union, Mr. Victor Kuma, speaking to the Daily Graphic And then there's also a bit about Abraham Kumsing also speaking to this matter in the paper today. But, you know, we've always known this. Our local textile companies suffering very much because, you know, people are just taking their designs to China and printing them and coming back to Ghana and selling them for cheaps. You know, they've been on this. We've been on this for years now.
Yes, over the last 1.5 decades, we've seen the going down under of the local textile companies, and it's for bad reasons. And the reasons are that the raw materials that is used, the cotton yarns, we don't grow cotton in our country. We used to back in the day when Nkrumah thought he had a vision. The subsequent leaders haven't had that vision, even though we have great arable lands in our country. So we have to go and take the calico or perhaps the raw materials elsewhere. It also means that there's a cost to it. Freight, shipping, and then when you come, you have to pay charges on it as a company before you come and use it in your factory to do the printing. That's its added cost. All that cost is transferred onto the pricing of the consumer. Now, when you go to China or elsewhere in India, Bangladesh, where you go and get the raw materials or you go and get the fabrics to use, which one is better? You take a plane through Emirates, you get to China, you tell them, look, these are the replicas of the designs that we have.
Somebody's hard work.
Yes. And so they print it there, very cheap. It is containerized. It is brought into our country. If you compare the price with how much they bought it, the freight they paid on it, and so the normal price to the consumer, it is never going to, the local one is never going to be competitive against the foreign one.
True.
And that's the truth. More so, we pay lip service as a state to these things because just like how we have quack or poor pharmaceutical products in our country, the state doesn't have that interest to protect its own. So we don't have these regimes in place, whether it's tariff or not, to make sure that we don't make those fake products come into our country to come and compete with the local ones that we have.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. So we're paying lip service on one hand. We don't want to create a certain Gojisbergian, you know, we have these big words, Gojisbergian economy and all that. But at the end of the day, we're not playing the protective role for those industries so that if you go onto the market, you have no option than to buy a Ghanaian product, whether the price is A or B.
Yeah.
We are not doing that as a country for certain categories of goods, which we can do.
And we're thinking and talking Ghana beyond 8.
We have bamboo stakes or other forms of wood in our forests right now, which we can use for toothpicks, but we don't have the mindset or the regimes in place to make sure we manufacture toothpicks. And toothpicks, you don't need great machinery to do it. You can use your hands, etc. Even the local ones, and I know one gentleman who started this back in the mid-2000s. He never got the help that he needed. It's called One Agbolosu Mensah. He never got the help that he needed. We still continued accepting the import from China, Bangladesh. It's the same places.
Yeah, yeah. So here we are. I tell you what, at least go to the Woodin store and get the original Woodin. And I urge you to buy our local product. That's the only way we can grow.
Talking about Woodin, though, Assistant Superintendent of Immigration, Flora Benlu Ayiga, she's at the Misiga border near Boko. She's the wife of my good friend who is a pharmacist, Salifu Komba. She said he loves your dress. You look like Maria Makiba.
I do.
Yeah, so Flora, good morning
well,
to you.
Well, thank you very much. Designed by Ajoy Yeboah Clothing. Check her designs out on Facebook and Instagram and get in touch and make something beautiful for you.
But let's talk on the Menzgold issue. We've had a situation where people have invested lots of money.
Yeah.
Now, the amounts that have been invested, even for the individuals, even for me, for some of the people I know who have invested, it's not less than 50,000 Ghana cedis.
People actually have.
Now,
people have.
Now, whether the activities were legal or not, I think that the state or regulatory institutions who are calling on them to be regulated or calling them in should do the needful to protect the ordinary Ghanaian.
We're here.
Who has unsuspected.
We're here again.
No.
We knew we would be here. I'm surprised
no.
you were sounding this
Yes.
way. You're talking specific Menzgold?
Yes, I'm talking.
Okay.
I'm talking.
You
Menzgold.
remember the many notices that the Bank of Ghana issued, or it doesn't mean anything?
I'm not saying that the notices by the Bank of Ghana was right. That's not what I'm saying, or wrong.
But okay, so when you say the state should protect customers,
the notices,
what do you mean? Explain, please.
The notices and the constant concerns being raised by the Bank of Ghana created panic.
Did it?
Yes.
Did it?
I
thought it was telling people to be cautious. It was telling people.
That is if the Bank of Ghana.
It was telling people
and the securities,
what it was.
That is if
I mean, should they have kept quiet?
And that is if the Bank of Ghana and the Securities and Exchange Commission told us that what they were doing was an affront to the law. They have not consistently been able to itemize which aspect of the Menzgold operation is an affront to the law. So they have to be in a position where they do the needful by protecting the deposits of the customers.
Okay, so how do you, I want to understand when you say protect customers, what does that mean? What should they do?
The tone of the conversations or the messages that they tend to issue publicly should have a tone that is more cooperative with Menzgold than saying that...
I am surprised that that is directed at the Bank of Ghana or the regulators.
And the securities.
I thought you would say Menzgold, because when the regulator, even if you think they're not regulating you, when they speak, you don't return, you don't respond the way that they have done in the last couple of weeks. Somebody says it, the boss just goes on Twitter and releases, comes back and apologizes. They either issue a statement and then quickly come up with another statement. I mean, that's not how you do your communication, especially when you're in the financial sector. You calm down first of all. But when you do the back and forth, you push people to publicly do what they've done. I don't blame the regulators in any way. Well, solely at the doorstep of Menzgold. Remember, even after the Security and Exchange Commission, that notice to them, after it was leaked, I think dated 3rd September or so, they quickly issued another statement and said, oh yeah, initially they said they were still operational. And then they came back and said, okay, we're going to close down, but we will come back on 19th September. Who are you? Like, seriously? Do you give a deadline? I mean, just tell your customers that you're cooperating with the regulators, but you don't give deadlines that you call the shots. That's not what you do. Well, I mean, I put it solely at their doorstep. If their customers today are going to their premises and demanding that they get their investment back, I blame it solely on them. We knew we would be here today.
Well, at the end of the day,
we knew we were going to be here today. I hope and pray that it doesn't get worse.
And if you're a regulator and you want to ensure that the right things are done, then if you know that you've been having discussions with them behind the scenes, which they have been, and
you know for sure that they've been cooperating, for me,
then the tone of the conversation or the communication or the messages to the public should be in such a way that it is reassuring to the customers who have their monies in there, so that even if they are going to be the decision made to go and liquidate their investment, they do it in such a way that people don't tend to lose out ultimately. There's no financial institution in our country when we have mass withdrawals, they're going to survive.
Didn't you see some customers say that because we don't know the benefits, that's why we're sounding the way we are sounding? Didn't you hear customers even blame media houses for wanting to collapse Menzgold? Were you not a witness to the harassment that some of our reporters received? Or we haven't been here, Roland? You're talking like this just happened. It's been coming, series of things, and we're here today. Well, whatever is happening, I blame it solely.
I hope that the regulators also will make sure that they protect the depositors, so to speak, whether they had been warned before or not.
I hope your money is not there.
Because
is your money in there?
Because so far,
you've got an investment
we've not
there?
been told that the regulations have been breached by Menzgold. So far, we have not been told, not in any communication by the Securities and Exchange Commission as well as the Bank of Ghana.
But we did at least hear from a Menzgold lawyer that the operations were not regulated in any way. Did you hear that? Did you heard them say that they were not under any regulator? You heard them?
Well, I heard them.
How can you be in existence in Ghana be operational and say that nobody's regulating you?
No, it's understandable. It's because the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Bank of Ghana have not even been able to point to the public or even to the media or anybody who is asking questions, which under which of their regulations
you still believe that
that empowers them to monitor.
Okay.
Yes,
So you know they've hired new lawyers, right? They've brought lawyers from outside and they've got strong local representatives. If you think the regulators didn't have a case, today's 20th. We'll still be here with the operations on hold.
The regulators, Bank of Ghana, Securities and Exchange Commission need to do the needful. But
that's exactly what they're doing.
It's the birthday of your daughter, and well, the name is Kanda, but your daughter is called Shafiat Abdul Wahid Brima. She goes to school at the St. Paul Lutheran School. And you're wishing her the best of the morning, but you say because you're a good child, you also deserve to be the best. And I know that God is going to protect Shafiat throughout the rest of her life.
You know, Roland, I can't help but ask you, you have some investment with Menzgold?
Is that a question? Is it a repetitive question? Because you've been going this.
I'm trying to understand what's happening. We have to go online.
Don't get emotional.
I am not.
Don't get emotional.
I'm not. I have never been emotional.
You know, today we have a conversation on the rich and the poor.
Yeah. Are you confused?
No, I'm not. Okay. I'm trying to get
you. Okay?
Yes.
We can make you some coffee.
No, on page 2, no, I don't need coffee.
On
page 2 of the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
Yeah.
And you want to know whether I have an investment.
No, let's go to page 2. Let's do what you're doing.
8.2% of Ghanaians are extremely poor. Now, there's a certain statistics. And we know we always take the living standard survey of the statistical service of our country. Now, Mavi, it will interest you to know that since 2006, poverty has been at the doorstep of many Ghanaians. In 2013, we had the number of poor people in our country, extremely poor, 6.4 million of them. And in 2017, they increased by an extra 2 million, or 4 million actually, to 6.
You know, we continue to say the poor continues to be poorer.
But that's not fair.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
it's never been.
According to the statistics and the survey undertaken by the Ghana Statistical Service, most of them have been considered to be extremely poor because their income levels have been dwindling comparatively to the improving ones of those who tend to have. Yeah. And that's a great concern. They are not able to feed normally, like how you and I will feed our families, or even the normal person will feed. And so they don't have access. They don't have access to proper schools that will give them the sort of education that could even take them out of poverty. They don't have access to proper housing. And yesterday there was a coalition. Connie once had had an event in which there's a coalition which we're all supporting. Santel Kram Singh.
Speaking there at an event
as well, that we're going to give them the support. They don't have access to basic toilet facilities. And that's a great concern for us. Because we've seen an influx or an inflow of a lot of money into our country. But I have had this conversation before. The money is flowing into
it's just
into oil and all that. So when you
being controlled by some specific persons.
When you go to the Ghana Investment Center, Promotion Center, they will tell you that, oh, we've had this millions or millions of hundreds of millions of investments in dollars that have flowed into our country. But which sectors have they been able to target?
But how has that trickled down?
We have airlines. Yes.
How has that
and how many people are employed in those sectors? Oil. We still don't have a great local content. Ghanaians involved in the upstream oil industry in our country.
And with that, the AGI would tell you that they've come a long way. And so if you look at the numbers, something is being done, and we have to begin from somewhere. But still,
the time
it is being controlled.
The time it is taking for us to get our people out of poverty.
Are we even getting our people out?
Because it's increasing.
The figures,
we're going
exactly.
Up. And unless we keep investing in resources that would empower our people in the medium to long term, We're going to be here in the next 10 years. We'll talk about the same
We'll
things.
have a conversation. We're talking to Oxfam Send Ghana and the coalition, corruption coalition, anti-corruption coalition as well, right after sports. So let's quickly just go online. Let's do myjoyonline.com. We'll do two international stories and we'll cross over and do sports. myjoyonline.com.
So we have a couple of stories there.
Court summons AG over JB case delay, and this judge has really suffered. The prosecution, oh my gosh, always, asking for adjournment, and the judge is tired already. We don't know why we can't move on so that this case can quickly move on to the High Court. We begin the process. Private schools to compulsorily employ licensed teachers according to the Ghana Education Service. Details right there on myjoyonline.com. Ghana's democracy widening inequality gap. Odro Osai, the Dean of Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Government Studies, making that statement is all, boxed up with our conversation. Teacher jailed 3 years for defiling 9-year-old. 3 years for defiling 9-year-old.
Only 3 years?
Really?
Only 3
What?
years?
Is there a Wutu, Roland, you see
Is
better,
a Wutu
Ofakor
of Circuit Court?
handed a 3-year sentence to the teacher who defiled his 9-year-old pupil.
But Mama,
that is not fair.
It's the law. The law, the sentences and the number of years that you can have somebody sentenced for these crimes. It is what is in the law that is inhibiting. So we have to do the advocacy. And we have to do
what's the maximum, really?
We have to, I think, 10 years.
Yeah, but so why do you give him 3 years? That's
okay. I guess the question that
no. I will after this. I'll read the story properly and we get to understand. I mean, I don't get it. How are people encouraged by this? What kind of example are you setting? Because 3 years is like yesterday. Understaffed gynecologist in Nadoli Kalio set to lose another doctor. That's sad. Details there on the page. AG advised us to settle with Star Times. That's according to the Deputy Communication Minister, George Anda. And this is coming up because of Gibbous article, the revelations that they've made, and subsequently the conversations that have gone on. Now we're beginning to see something is not right with this deal.
Not something.
Everything is not right with
the second coming of Star Times is just not right. Okay,
now let's meet a very inspirational woman. Meet Lucy Quist, the most powerful woman in Ghanaian football. All right, Ekufuado meets KNUST alumni over controversial hall conversion.
But we have other stories there. You have the minority Adams Mutawakilu saying that 40.5 million Ghana cedi, that bus payment, etc. is.
All right, so let's do this. This is a story rocking the U.S. A lawyer for a woman who accuses U.S. Supreme Court nominee of sexual assault has said the Senate's rush to a hearing is unnecessary. They've given her up to Monday to make an appearance. But already she's had to move homes because she says she's being threatened. And this is alleged assault that happened some 36 years back with this judge. And it's getting interesting.
Yeah.
The person who allegedly was a witness says he didn't witness anything like that. Liberia travel ban after $60 million vanished. President Ria's government
the story?
bars 15 people from going abroad pending the outcome of a banknote probe. And we know Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's children are involved somehow, allegedly, with this.
Towards the end of her administration, they brought in Liberian Liberty notes, dollar notes, worth $60 million US. And by the time they swear into office a new government, they got vanished.
Yeah.
So nobody knows where the notes are.
Well. All right, and then Ugandan's pop star turned opposition politician is returning home on Thursday after receiving treatment in the United States. We talked about him here on the show.
He still has some treasonable charges against him.
Exactly.
Alongside some 32 others.
Okay, so check this out. People say they're going to meet him at the airport. They blocked certain routes towards the airport, and they are saying unless you've got travel tickets or you're actually taking somebody to the airport, you will not be allowed. So you can check out all the stories, all the international stories. You can go to the BBC, you can go to myjoyonline.com and be updated.
All right, so we have the latest sports stories. Benedict also is going to tell you how Manchester United, they were great winners over Young Boys.
But I want to talk about Manchester
Cristiano
City.
Ronaldo got a red card for pulling, an opponent's hair. All those updates up next.
Good morning to my dear friend Prince Charles in Takrady.